Hi, my name is Donna Seager from Seager Gray Gallery in Mill Valley, and I had the privilege of curating this exhibition, Crossing the Divide, for Gallery Route 1. When I was asked what theme I wanted to use for the show, Crossing the Divide came up because of all we've been through in the past year. And the divide represents the divide between rich and poor, between black and white, between where we were when we could see each other and where we are now. And what I found was it came up with themes of isolation, loneliness, poverty, and power. There's a lot of power in the pieces that I'm really very pleased to see. I think in this time, people really have gone inside themselves to communicate how they feel during. Start with this piece. The title of it is I Too Was Once a Child. And I was struck by so many things about this piece. One of the things is that I believe when someone is driven to make art, they will use whatever materials they can find. And I was very caught by the materials of this piece, of this kind of, I don't even know what it is, kind of plastic bagging or something, and butcher paper and newspaper and yarn. And you have this person sleeping on the ground, but in their pocket is a small photograph. And you realize, kind of poignantly, that this is him. This is him as a child, that all the people who are suffering, all the people that are out on the streets were somebody's baby. And I was struck by that so much, and also by the kind of, even the materials themselves speak of poverty. It's very, very poignant, and I love the kind of sewing with the yarn that they did to create the drawing line of the piece. When I first walked into Gallery Route 1 and saw the pieces that I had selected, this one caught my eye because of the feeling of isolation in it. And I was feeling that, and I love the textures and the moodiness of it and the tonality. And then I picked it up and looked behind, and in fact, the title of the piece is Isolation. So I would say that the artist was successful in portraying that sense of loneliness or solitude. Why don't we go? Assemblage is sometimes a difficult medium. You have to integrate all of the parts of it to make it work, and this piece definitely does. This is called Glass Half Full, and you can actually turn the glass on this one, which is really extraordinary, but you have this skeleton and this old face and the crystal kind of sense of magic. And to me, it is memento mori in a box, that everything passes, and there's a sense of that time that is so graphically displayed with the hourglass. And it engaged me, and I think it really works as a piece of art, and I love the use of materials, all handled, by the way, very well. A long-standing program called The Art of the Book. And I love incorporating books into exhibitions because I believe in them as works of art. This particular piece is a beautiful handmade book called Your Ghost, The Evening Light. But really the focus of the piece is the moon. And it's beautifully created with these cutouts that when you put it together show the moon.
Yeah.
I want to be able to show you. See how this long sense of the dark night comes open? And the text says, the sky, dark as an iron pot. Old men and women grasp at life, yet the moon, oh the moon. So beautiful and short, you
Yeah,
know,
it
and
is.
almost like a haiku, beautifully sewn with this blue thread. But in addition, she has this wonderful case with hand felted with the image of the moon and this beautiful bead that the book slips into. So it's beautifully crafted, but it's also very, very simple and poignant. And the darkness of the black paper, I think, really lends to the tone of the whole piece.
Thank you.
Okay. Shall we do Inez's? It's hard not to love a painting by Inez Storr, but this one struck me particularly because of the scale of the little chair and the table with the diary, but mostly because it says waiting, waiting, waiting. And the title of the painting is In Place. And I'm reminded of the patience that has been required of all of us in the last year as we shelter in place in our homes. And it's both delightful and spared. I love fiber, and I love the way this piece hangs like a beautiful cocoon, you know, which is what we all are right now, is cocooned. But it hangs there so delicately in the feeling of something that might open up.
Ah,
Simple, but...
yeah.
I love the way this looks, the way it's hung with the textures of everything there and the patterns. Surely in the last year, one of the most poignant events, beside the pandemic, was the killing of George Floyd, and the way that it sparked and magnified the systemic racism in the country, and people of all persuasions joined in protest, which felt like a real shift in the nation. And this is a portrait of George Floyd, beautifully done. But if you come close, every little part of it is a scene from protests around the country and the whole Black Lives Matter movement. And the composition of it is extraordinary. And yet when you move back, it becomes very, very clearly the face of George Floyd. My first place piece. This painting is entitled Siblings with Mud Hut. Mud House, actually, is the correct title. And it is a fascinating piece. The textures are like dried mud in several of the places, and the shirt kind of ruffles out. There's a sculptural quality to it. And these boys have so much color in their face, and their eyes and their direct gaze speaks of longing and belonging, because they are in fact siblings, the reminder that we're all families. But the colors speak to me a little bit of African patterns, and the swirl in his sweater and this beautiful checkered shirt. The background, the paints, if you look closely, are actually iridescent in some places. And their gaze and the beautiful paint job really struck me as such a direct and poignant piece. The canvas in this is actually pieced together and sewn. You can't see it so much in the finish, but what it created for the artist was the ability to have this kind of fluidity. It's not flat exactly. It's an extraordinary work. You can spend a lot of time with this one. And I felt like it kind of encapsulates this to fascinate me, the way artists have such a great variety of expressions. And I find that so much in the show. There are textures, there's themes of isolation, there's lots of nature, because we are fortunate in this time to be able to walk and be in nature. There's fiber, there's clay, there's wonderful printmaking and drawing in the show as well. Photography, lots of the photography speaks of loss and decay. and isolation. I hope you'll come and see the show.